Hello and welcome to another episode of Changing Room Thoughts. As you can see, I have a very special guest and we are filming in a very special location, but we'll get into that later. Happy 2024. It's only right we enter the year of the dragon with a guest that makes the most badass Chinese streetwear designs. Fashion is so lucky that DAWANG is here to represent contemporary Chinese. She makes the sickest pieces and also has the most down-to-earth and hardworking personality. She's dressed some of your most iconic Kalani, Tiffany Day, Minnie Mills from That Summer I Turned Pretty, Bohan Noor from Queens, your favorite Instagram Asian baddies, and the list goes on. Give it up for Daisy Wang.
Hi guys.
Woo! So, first of all, thank you so much for being
Of course,
on
been
my
waiting for
podcast.
this a long time.
So we are currently in Daisy's studio. Behind us, what's behind us?
It's a mess. Behind us is pretty much all our past season samples from 2019 spring to now. We have 2 more racks that's not in the camera. Thank God, it's a little too messy here. Appreciate Karina actually loving this setup, so we didn't have to change much. Yeah.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to capture the reality and what it's really like to be a designer, because I think that's something a lot of people listening to this podcast have always been curious about. They've always appreciated art, fashion, the finer things,
Yeah.
but they might be working other jobs or positions and they're very
Exactly.
curious about it. So
This is as real as it goes. As messy as it goes too.
I find it charming.
I think we met a year ago around this time. Sample
Yeah.
cell. Yeah.
We
So
met
it's
in
been like
person about a year
a
ago.
full year, yeah.
And so we first became aware of each other. I got her Instagram ad and I was like, this is sick. I had actually never bought anything off of an Instagram ad before. I should definitely buy this. It was the Leslie
Yes.
mini dress. It's just cut so well. It was so flattering. It definitely felt a modern and contemporary way to wear a Qi Pao inspired dress. And I love it. I still wear it today. I'm pretty sure I've worn it a couple times here, but I'll layer it over pants. I'll wear it with leggings. It's one of my favorite things ever.
Yeah, that's still our most iconic look that we introduced from the first season. Received the love, people's understanding of why we wanted to do this, to kind of give it a more modern streetwear, daily casual intake to Chinese styles or fashion in general. So after this first season, we've still been making it every season per color, per seasonal inspired colorway. Leslie and the apron top is our 2 most iconic that we're going to continue it every season with a little small twist or a new design. Yeah.
I love that you started off so strong and you already have a signature piece that stays throughout the collections. You kind of mentioned some things that I definitely want to hit on. Why you started DAWANG.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about why the name DAWANG, how you came up with that, because I was just talking to a friend the other day and they were like, what does it mean?
Yeah.
Big king? And then someone was like, it's giving big dick energy.
Yes, that's what we're going for.
That's the goal.
That's the goal. Big genital synergy in general. Doesn't matter the sex. We're all kings. King and queens.
So tell me, what was the inspiration behind the name and the brand?
Well, I have the idea of starting a modern Chinese brand first before thinking about the name. And I think it's more based on my personal experience growing up. You know, born and raised in China as Chinese and then moved here for boarding school when I was 15. I get to kind of experience both culture now since I'm turning 30, around half and half now. So when I started off college, especially going into an art school, a fashion design school, everybody is portraying their own personality, their own style, starting freshman year. So that's when I actually really started looking into, what do I want to wear the most as a design student or just as a Chinese in general in this modern world. And I've always been leaning more towards streetwear fashion myself. So when I was searching up what can represent me in a modern Chinese kind of intake, that's when I found out that there's not really much around, especially in the Western market here. Like in China, I've definitely been seeing waves of modern Chinese interpretations and throughout fashion to different industries. But here it's still so niche that nobody's doing it, that nobody's talking about it. So as a customer, if I can't find anything, slowly switching to my business mind, maybe this could work out. As somebody who understands both culture, that's been in both culture, I feel I could showcase a slightly different version of what modern Chinese could be comparing to what's been going viral in China, how our styles are still a little bit different, how we wanted to dress up, how comfortable are we showing off our body types, our curves and everything throughout the clothing. That's kind of what we wanted to aim for differently, but also make them daily accessible, comfortable enough for you to want to wear it on a daily basis instead of, oh, I can only wear it on a holiday or to a party, a nightclub, something like that. We wanted to make it more celebrated and make it more common for people to see and be, oh, this is totally doable for me to wear it on a Monday night or Monday morning.
Yeah. No, you really hit on something, because for Chinese Americans growing up, I had maybe one or two Qi Pao in my life, and they're heavy silk, structured very much to your body, but you only wear them once in a blue. I never wore it because it was such a
Tie structure,
yeah. The only time I ever really saw it, I would go to a family friend's wedding and the bride and the groom would be wearing it. And sometimes maybe some of the guests would be wearing it. But I think Chinese Americans, I definitely felt this way. I'm sure other of your customers feel this way too. But I just feel so much lack of my culture and my personality being in the clothes that I show up in every day. And it almost just feels like if I don't get to represent myself through my form of clothing, that's how some of my identity with being Chinese dies, and that makes me sad.
Exactly,
so I feel like you've solved a real problem for the target customer, which is me. Any of you guys who have bought DAWANG before have probably experienced this, but once you start, you kind of don't stop, because no other brand is producing clothes in this aesthetic for this demographic with this level of streetwear cool. And so I've started to really collect the pieces, and I slowly have a growing proportion of my wardrobe that's DAWANG, and I love it.
And a lot of styling videos you've been seeing.
Yes.
Pulling off. They're amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're really thankful of the era that we're living in, or this time frame that we're living in, because even when I first started off in boarding school, I was kind of like shying away, being, oh, does people want to know about my Chinese culture or know about my Chinese roots, or should I be more blended into the wider influence, the Western influence? It wasn't until moving to New York, I think, starting off college when we only had one boba shop per 20 blocks, to now it's literally every other corner
block.
you see a boba tea shop or a noodle house or Korean tofu barbecue. I feel like it's also this era that our Asian community is growing and empowering each other that gave me the confidence. I see people willing to learn more or accept more, even from the drinks, from the food. People are starting to want to accept more. So I'm really grateful for that.
I think it's really interesting too, your unique blend of how you got to where you are today. You grew up where in China? Qingdao.
Yeah. That's where in the northeastern part, or below from Beijing, right across from Korea. So we're also very
Is it
heavily
an island,
Korean.
or am I wrong?
We're by the edge. It's not technically an island. It's by
gotcha.
the, where how China looks, the rooster.
Yeah.
Or right by the throat part of
Okay,
China.
gotcha.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? I always thought China looked like a really wonky t-shirt.
Now that you mention it, it does a little bit.
My mom's from Beijing, by the way.
Yeah, I remember that you have the northern roots. But I still don't appreciate this weather in New York.
Yeah, no, 100%. I still hate the cold, don't get me wrong.
No, I can't.
No, but I think it's really interesting, your unique blend of how you grew up in Qingdao and then came to the US for school and then experienced the intermingling of Chinese and American culture in that way. Would you consider yourself Chinese or Chinese American?
Chinese.
I think every Chinese person that's like interfaced with America or lived here for some time, and every Chinese American feels that there is a little bit of difference between that culture. But I feel there's also, we want to get closer and get to know each other better, but they feel very different.
There is
like,
still a barrier somewhere.
Yeah. And I think for Chinese Americans, a lot of times always think of themselves in a spectrum. On one end, there's Chinese. On the other end, there's American. And they're always trying to decide where on that spectrum they are. And I remember thinking in eras of my life where I'm watching a lot of K-dramas, really into anime. When I'm starting to feel a little bit more Asian side of myself, it's very different from Asian Americans who maybe identify on the other end of the spectrum. They're all very valid experiences. And I think universally, we all kind of crave connecting further with that part of our culture through something as fundamental as the way we dress.
Yeah. And I feel like, just you said, as Chinese Americans or Asian Americans in general, we have the roots from both cultures, even though our family, or if you're a second generation or first generation, your family still give you that Chinese or that Asian family environment, whereas whenever you step outside, it's a complete different story.
Yeah.
So you still want to carry part of that into your grown up adulthood,
Exactly.
but not as much. So I feel that's where the modern Chinese part steps in, is that we wanted to show you some of our personality, where we're from or where our roots are at, but in the same way we're also still heavily influenced by Western culture and fashion. I feel, yeah, one of our inspos has always been that mostly everything that we're wearing right now, it's Western influenced. T-shirts, shirts, all of that stuff, and it's okay. How can we kind of give that a twist, that all garments can be other culture influenced and still okay for people that's not from that culture to be okay to wear it and celebrate it, make that more normal effect. Yeah.
No, that's a great point, because I think also, and I've run my mouth on this on social media a bit and gotten into a little bit of hate for it, but it really be your own sometimes, because I find that between Chinese Americans and Chinese folks, there's kind of sometimes a different opinion that have on cultural appropriation.
Yeah,
a lot of
definitely.
Chinese folks are very proud to share their culture with other people, be it, you know, white people, Asian people, black people, whatever. But Chinese Americans are a lot more protective of it. And it's interesting because I think in a lot of places in America, growing up Chinese American was not cool. They were bullied for it, made fun of it. And then when other people now try on the culture as a trend, it's triggering, because it's, you don't know
Huge
hardship.
me for that.
Yeah, you don't know the hardship, and you have packaged my culture into something that's just aesthetic. But I think the onus is not on the designer to temper their clothes to fit that narrative. It's on the people around you not to be fucking assholes about it. And I think, why can't we have nice things?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's our own Chinese American people that police so hard, they come all the way back around.
Yeah.
I was talking to another friend of mine who's a Chinese American fashion designer, and she makes clothing that is a little bit more skin bearing and has some elements of Chinese style on it. And she told me she received a DM from someone who was a Chinese American woman, who was like, your designs make me feel uncomfortable because they're fetishizing Asian women. And I'm like, not you telling the Asian American woman
That
they're fetishizing themselves. God forbid a Chinese woman feels sexy. Like, oh no.
Yeah.
That's not really our problem.
But yeah, just like you said, I feel like the difference definitely comes from how we grew up differently. Back in China, it's a huge community of all Chinese people, so we're okay with the idea of, oh, if you want to show your love to our culture, we're actually proud of it, that we wanted to do more of this. We wanted to showcase more, just how we recently had a collab with the Hanfu, like a silk museum from Suzhou, where they replica all the garments they found in tombs and stuff, and replica the same thing, exactly following how they used to weave the fabric, how they used to, grow the silks out. And they wanted us to help them kind of curate a fashion show in New York. And the first question I reached out was just, okay, let me know what the casting you wanted to be, Asian or to them. And they gave me okay to everything. They were just, we wanted to see other culture, diversity, celebrating or trying to understand about this particular part of the fashion culture in China. So that's a really difference. I didn't realize it until, I guess, I moved to America and, being in this more Asian American community, learning about how a lot of our friends growing up in America, they had such a different treatment. Whereas when they were wearing, say, Qi Pao to school, they will be judged or they will be made fun of for this kind of stuff. So that's a turn back. Nowadays, people think Chinese aesthetics or modern Chinese are cool. Why can't you wear it when I got so much hate on it? I feel it's that mentality of things. But I totally understand. I feel if I grew up in the same environment, I would definitely probably even have more hatred towards that.
And why would you not want your cultures
to be more modern, to be more casualized?
Yeah, to become, if you have always felt otherized, why would you not want part of your culture to become part of the mainstream? Do we still want to dress like boring people? I'm sorry, but it's true. Like, I get it, American Ivy, whatever, bro. Like, it's boring. Like, any one of these DAWANG pieces, if I could wear that more normally every day, I think my baseline serotonin would be through the roof. Yeah. Colors, the patterns, silk, brocade.
But that's why I'm always really into learning more about how culture travel or how food travel in general. How, how people always assume that pepper or like spicy food is Chinese, but we didn't really even have pepper until 200, 300 years ago. It was imported from, the Mexico, India, throughout Silk Road. That's when we actually started using pepper and eating the hot pepper, not the, what you call it, the grinded pepper thing. Yeah, the spicy ones.
Yeah.
We didn't have that until 300 years ago.
Yeah.
And people always assume that, oh, it's a Chinese thing. Whereas, you know, ketchup in another way, I learned this from a Cantonese friend 2 years ago, that it was actually, you know, inspired. Ketchup, and even the pronunciation sounds tomato sauce.
I heard that.
Yeah, I didn't know that until a year ago. I was like, whoa, that's so cool that all these food that we assumed are Western or Asian actually made their way a few hundred years ago.
Yeah.
They weren't rooted, but it was just through our assumption what would be, oh, this is Western, this is Asian. But who knows, like brocade or silk was traveled throughout the Silk Road to Europe.
That's true.
And how brocade is such a celebrated textile in Western culture and Western fashion, where all your tailored suits or your high fashion,
more couture
gowns and stuff, or a lot of them are brocade inspired, but that also made its way throughout the history of journey to Europe. So we don't know, there's a lot of the textiles or prints that could be also inspired by Western culture throughout 500-600 years ago that we just couldn't trace it back right now, but you never know. So the idea that end of the day we're all humans on this world, we're citizens of the world, that everything is blended in a way a long time ago.
And I also think with the way the whole cultural appropriation thing is going, you can take it up with Pretty Little Thing, Urban Outfitters for culturally appropriating, but what we're not going to do is make it a problem for our Chinese and Chinese American designers. That's just, that doesn't make any sense. And also, I love that because you're at the forefront of this kind of design of contemporary Chinese, that you've made the very intentional decision to cast very diverse models. And I think that's really cool. Is that kind of part of your philosophy with wanting to share this culture and normalize it?
Exactly. Our vision or our brand image is to kind of welcome people of all backgrounds to partake in the beauty of modern Chinese, as long as you wanted to show respect, that you are willing to, because we actually get a lot of DMs or emails from non-Asian customers. Their first question is always been, hey, is it appropriate for me to wear this? Is it okay? I appreciate that question. You showing me that you care already means everything, that you are willing to ask that question. But we also get questions like, oh, how do you make sure that you're selling the pieces to people that respect it? But that's, as a small business brand owner, that's the one thing that we can control. It's not like I can share a questionnaire and be, let's do, as long as you make 10 questions out of 20, we'll sell you this dress. Otherwise, that's a no-no. That's a hard no.
Are you an ally or are you an off?
We can do that. We're on to our almost 5th year of starting up DAWANG, and it's really through the community support and everybody who loves and wants to know more about modern Chinese that we get to make it through here, because the first 3 years was literally all COVID.
That's so true.
So it's been a really long and tough journey, a lot of self-education, no stuff, but I really appreciate it. And that's how I met Karina too. Without starting DAWANG, without doing this, I wouldn't be able to meet so much amazing creators in this community too. So I'm really grateful for that.
I'm really proud of you. Like, you're really leading this paradigm shift of normalizing and bringing our culture into the mainstream. So thank you for your work. And doing it sustainably. Can we talk about that?
Like, oh, yes.
Pop off.
Gotta give that to Parsons, where I received my BFA education. I think starting from the freshman year, the school wants to alarm us on how much waste the fashion industry is. I think we're the top 1 to 2 most polluted industry throughout every perspective. So that's when I first wanted to learn more about sustainable fashion and how we can recycle, reuse materials. So after starting up DAWANG, after launching our full first season plus Lunar New Year, we had a lot of scrap fabrics left over from this Lunar New Year collab with Ada Chen, which is also our first Lunar New Year collab. Shout out to her. So that gave me the first idea of, okay, what about if we can recycle everything? We definitely did use some new of the black brocade, but everything else was the recycled material that we decided to patch them up and kind of give it a new look. And people love that collection, but moving on, I wanted to save a bit more of a bulkier choices and varieties before we can launch our next full sustainable patchwork collection. But moving on, how we are using denim this year, we always wanted to kind of give our customer a choice to personalize your stuff. So starting after we launched the first sustainable collection, we started introducing our DAWANG renewal pieces, which is by season. Whenever we have a vision of redesigning some of our past season looks, we'll launch it online and make sure that it's like a one of a kind or one piece per size, that you're not going to get the same design anywhere else. So from there, we kind of wanted to introduce this denim collection and give our customer another way of personalizing your pieces. So after we're aiming to have our first denim workshop by March next year. So say if you're a customer that bought the denim pieces with us within this 3 month, you can appreciate them as it is until March or later within the year or next 10 years. You can always bleach it or deconstruct it however you want and make it another one of a kind of your own piece. Yeah.
That is so cool. You've kind of mentioned we're coming up on 5 years of DAWANG, which is so exciting. Congratulations. I'm curious about what have been the moments you've loved most in running DAWANG.
I think is whenever I get to meet a friend who understands and appreciate what we're doing. I think that is the most meaningful to me. Starting up DAWANG, we wanted to create this community where people understands and wants to be a part of it and celebrate it, and getting our customers feedback from time to time when they email or DM us saying that they love what we're doing and they find us, what you were saying when you first found us, that gives me the energy to keep going, even though being a one-woman business has been a lot.
Yeah,
but
God,
ever we receive a DM or a support message, that just gave me all the hope in the world.
Daisy is the most hardworking girl I know, and she's willing to try anything once. That's something else that I really admire about you. Nothing is off limits. This collaboration with the Hanfu Museum, which I think is so cool, and I'm really excited to see that, to all of these collaboration. And that kind of brings me to another question is, you've done quite a few collaborations before on sweatshirts and collections and stuff. How do you decide who to work with?
Honestly, well, that's the perks of being a one-woman business, is whoever I love. Whoever I love. It's mostly, so far, all the artists we've worked with is this creative community I've met or joined in New York. All the artists that we met, especially during COVID, it was mostly online, that everybody would just share their love online through an Instagram DM saying that I love your stuff. When I went back to stock them, I was, well, I love your stuff. And that's a lot of how a lot of conversation or coffee meetup started. We'll just catch a coffee, share our idea. And that's why I love New York so much, is this Asian creative community here, that everybody is actually, no matter if you're in fashion, graphic, illustration, we do have the same goal of wanting to celebrate modern Chinese aesthetics or our own intake on Chinese culture and a lot of the traditional stuff. Say Lunar New Year, how do we give it a twist and retell that story or retell every zodiac? So that's pretty much how I would reach out to all the friends and just be, hey, would you be down to do a collab? And most of the times we've pretty much worked with all non-fashion related artists, so they are also really interested and down to test out and try out this fashion angle with us. So I'm really grateful for that. And it's been also more, I want to say, casual and free in a way when you're working with your friends. Everybody understands the struggle of being a startup or being a one-woman business. So sometimes it would take us weeks to even just catch up because everybody is running such a tight schedule on their end. Yeah, so that's why apologies. You can see that a few of our past year collabs, especially during COVID, we had a huge delay on deliveries. And some things just went out of our control. But other than that, yeah, I pretty much work with all the friends that I've loved and supported throughout the first year of DAWANG to now, and moving on, I'm always excited to meet other creatives in different industries that we can work with or find an angle. I'm really excited to share you guys the Lunar New Year stuff that we have planned on coming up for the Year of Dragon. It's definitely a new angle. We're testing out jewelry collab for the first time. Yeah, and we wanted to introduce it because the jewelry artist, the brand that we're working with, is doing their own renewal. Like, they will renew metals to do their new design, so we also wanted to pay our respect to that. So for our Dragon fashion line, it's going to be a few renewal pieces as well.
Oh my god, that's so exciting.
Yeah, Karina will show you the styling later.
This actually brings me to my next question, which is, what are you manifesting for yourself and for your brand in the next year?
Honestly, well, first of all, we wanted to have our first runway in LA, hopefully this next year for spring, summer. And then second thing we're manifesting is there's not going to be any delays on our deliveries for the next 2 seasons, plus Lunar New Year for the next year. We're really excited to look for new collaborations, and at the same time, we wanted to kind of tap into more of the core merchandises, wanted to find ways to kind of celebrate more of the artists in our community too. So start of next year, we wanted to do our own Lunar New Year album calendar. You know how for Christmas we always count down to the 25th? Yeah, for Lunar New Year we actually count up to the 15th because it's from 大年三十, like the New Year's Eve till the 15th of the Lunar New Year calendar is where normally people will take off for the 15 days.
Right.
So we kind of wanted to kind of celebrate that and see how we can do our own holiday, celebrate gifting. Yeah.
If you're unaware, in China, Lunar New Year is different from how Christmas is here. People take off significantly more time.
It used to be at least, I think, 15 days from what I remember, or you at least get to take 2 to 3 days before New Year's Eve, you know, because Lunar New Year, you got to prep big dinner, whole family gathering,
whole family comes
everything.
home,
Yeah. I can't imagine the stress if I have to go to work and then come home and prep for everything. Yeah, that's a completely different story. But but Lunar New Year is still the biggest celebrated holiday, China at least.
I am really looking forward to your collection. Every Lunar New Year is so fun. Last year, Year of the Rabbit, there were the bunny beanies.
Yeah.
That was really cute.
Yeah, this year I wanted to do a dragon beanie, but we couldn't figure out the shapes right.
Yeah,
so, that would be really cute.
What's the motivation behind the runway show in LA?
Actually, well, first is actually more than half of our customer base is in LA. So far, our biggest is New York and California in general. Second, from our styling point of view, you can kind of tell that most of our styles are more West Coast friendly. We don't have any too heavy of winter wear jackets. And I've been thinking about moving to LA for the past 10 years now. Ever since I started college in New York, because I hated the winters here. So every winter I would manifest about moving to LA. So that's the third thing I'll be manifesting for DAWANG as well, is if we can find an angle or once I figure out how to drop ship all our orders, maybe it would be more easier for me to kind of even think about bi-coastal or doing it remote from LA from time to time, because I do think for my mental health I need to get away from the winters here. It's just too much. My winter depression is too much.
Speaking of which, I did have a question in here. I was gonna ask what's been the most challenging so far. We've talked about wins and there are also challenges. And you can share as much as you feel comfortable with, but what's been on your mind lately?
Definitely budget for us is a big anxiety for me, because we're still solo funded as a one-woman team. It's hard for me to kind of think about expanding our team when we don't really have the budget to work with. And then the second thing would be, I guess, from communication with our customers, because we are, I want to say, doing okay on social media, so people would assume that we're a bigger brand, or they would assume that we have a team, whereas actually most of the stuff are me handling from day-to-day basis. So say customer service, or a lot of the replies will be like, why aren't you getting back to me? I'm so sorry.
She's
like
IT.
Yeah,
she's
product management, packing and shipping orders, your customer service, your marketing and PR. Yeah, so I literally just switched our email auto reply system to please give me 5 to 7 just in case if I miss any of your emails. I hope that people can understand that. But every time when I do explain to the customers, they'll be, oh, I did not know that you were just a one-woman team. I'm so sorry about. But yeah, so we definitely wanted to kind of portray that message out a little bit to let people know that we appreciate your love, but we're still on a very small scale moving forward. Yeah. And the next thing will probably just be product inventory. We just lost that shipment over the summer. The funny thing is, one of our customers tagged us. He commented on our story on one of our reel videos last week, saying that he saw 30 of the shirt that we lost at a thrift store in Utah selling for $80 per. I appreciate that they're still giving us an okay secondhand value, but they definitely, somebody sold that whole inventory to them, because I also saw some women's wear pieces. That was the restock of that 2-piece shirt. Yeah, because we lost that whole inventory out. So they got, I want to say, 100 of one of the shirts and 100 of our Luca and Dory, the unisex men's shirts. Yeah, so
that is so suspicious.
And we received a full box of fake lashes. That was when
Wait, can't you sue them for that?
No, the shipping facility is like, oh, we can't find it either. And since you only paid, I think because our production only paid them the minimum shipping insurance, so they're not going to cover the whole thing for us. So I've been thinking about, should I call that thrift store and try to at least get whoever sold it to them?
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if they'll tell me about that though. I'll be like, hey, I'm the owner of DAWANG. Can you please tell me who sold you all my stuff? stuff.
Maybe it's
200
time
pieces
to,
of my stuff. Yeah.
Maybe it's time to put some people on blast.
Yeah.
That's some fuck shit.
Exactly. So yeah, that's
if you're
the
a thrift
one thing.
store, why are you getting bulk inventory? Why are you getting bulk new inventory?
He's actually found 30 of them, 30 of the Luca shirt. And I'm pretty sure if they bought the whole inventory, they just didn't put everything out because it's definitely more than 30. Or whoever sold it to them sold them separately. Because when I first lost that package, I even searched it up on Etsy. I was like, is anybody selling them? But it wasn't at the time.
Any lawyers watching this,
please let me know what can I do.
Thank you so much for joining us on Changing Room Thoughts, Daisy. I am really excited to check back in again. Maybe sometime near the end
Part
of the
2
year.
coming up.
Yeah, see how you're doing in a little bit. But anything you want to plug before we leave?
No, I just wanted to thank you guys all for following Karina and believing in her style and talent. Yeah, hopefully we'll be seeing more of you guys on her next episode. Yes.
And if you haven't had a chance to check out DAWANG and you're interested in modern Chinese,
We'll put a link up here.
yes, we'll put a link in the description
Yeah, or
somewhere.
somewhere.
All right. Bye. See you next Monday.
Bye.